Hades 2, a game so addicting I almost didn't want to be making this script and instead wanted to play Hades 2. But why did I want to play Hades 2? Hades 2 is an incredibly award-winning game. There's a lot that goes into a good video game combat system, but I think Hades 2 has that down pat. Now, there's a lot of stuff you can do in that game. There's 6 weapons, each of them has a different attack and a special. They've got charge attacks, there's casting, there's dodging, and then there's all the different boons that change all the way. My feeble mortal mind cannot comprehend all of that at once. Now, having all that stuff doesn't make a system bad. Actually, it kind of makes it good. But being forced to use, like, all 48 random mechanics, it wouldn't be very good. I couldn't remember the first 2. Which is why the great people at Supergiant Games have gently handed us a bone so us old people don't throw out their backs, and made it so that you don't need to remember all of them. Each of those different mechanics is nicely sectioned off. You can't use attacks from one weapon on another weapon. But even then, you still have quite a lot to deal with, and that's where builds come in. They've made everything super viable. More accurately, they've given us many tiny, smaller bones. Now, we're not going to be buying any nectar with these. These are bones, but these bones symbolize all the combat mechanics. I know game development is weird, we got all sorts of different skeletons in our closets, but the specific size and shape of these bones is pretty important. Take another award-winning game, The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, for instance. In the game, you can summon a bunch of varieties of enemies and objects to help traverse the world or solve puzzles. But what if these items is a cloud and it just allows for infinite height? So everything is trivialized? It's the equivalent of adding a human-sized femur bone to a spider. It's gonna crush the dude. Hades 2 does a great job of making sure that doesn't happen. No mechanic is too big. One special isn't going to trump another special or an attack or a cast. They all have their own little spaces. You always know the cast is going to be good for slowing down enemies. The attack's always going to be some sort of basic attack, usually in front of you. And the special's going to be, honestly, who knows what, just figure it out. But it's not going to step on the other two. Even other mechanics such as dashing or the charge attacks all fulfill their own mechanics, usually of avoiding damage or adding extra damage with a little extra risk. Now, given the amount of skeletons we have, it's hard to pick out the right bones, so you're going to need a lot of playtesting for that, just to make sure none of the mechanics step on each other's toes or femur bones. But if that was all that was good for a combat system, then ballet dancers would probably be the best game designers out there. So of course it isn't that simple. If you've ever looked at a skeleton, you'd know it's not just a bunch of pinky bones smacked together in a pile, because that would create a monstrosity of mush. Each mechanic needs its own little reason to exist, and it should also depend on some other mechanics or the story. Now, it's already hard to connect one thing to another thing, but it's best if you connect it to a bunch of other sort of things, right? Give it multi-usage. You can put down a cast to slow the enemy, and then, if you have the sister blades, use their backstab to get behind them without fear that they're about to attack you. But there's one other thing that Hades 2 does so well, they basically take it for granted, and that is whether or not the move is actually enjoyable to use. For this, I've determined 3 core aspects that need to be beaten down before you succumb to their siren song. The first one is on vocals, and that's the technical difficulty to execute. If you try to cast an Omega move at the wrong time, then your run is over. But those Omega moves are gonna do so much more damage and be so much cooler than a normal attack on your X button. A move that's harder to execute is obviously gonna have trade-offs compared to one that's easy, but it also determines the baseline skill required for your game. So oftentimes, it's good to have both an easy and a hard option. Sometimes even a medium option. The second of these two is on guitar, and that's the problem-solving skills. These are going to be your indirect attacks. A cast slows down the enemies, but that in turn allows you to kill them. The cast doesn't attack them directly, but the cast is especially useful when those sharks try to give me PTSD. The more indirect, the harder it will be to use, but that's another measure of baseline skill. And it can be pretty enjoyable when somebody figures out a cool combo or usage using those very indirect measures. Number 3 on drums is how it feels. Many drummers say they can feel the percussion of the instruments, and that makes them like the drums. But that also refers to game design. If you can feel the moves and that they're doing something good, then you're more likely to use them, and that makes it more fun to play. Especially because Melinoe is a goddess and not some random cat who should be enjoying a cat fight. Even though Melinoe probably would look pretty cute in cat ears. Now, the astute of you out there might have been thinking, what about juice? And I hear juice goes pretty good with nectar if you're interested. And juice should be separated from the attack feel, and for good reason, because juice refers to the non-essential combat mechanics. The feel we mentioned earlier refers to the attack itself and how much that's doing. Juice just refers to how many cool effects are attached to it. If you give Odysseus juice, it won't change his tactical abilities, but he will appreciate it. Now, that's quite a bit of stuff, and that's because there's a lot of stuff in game design. But Hades 2 has managed to fight through the depths of that underworld with relative ease. And Hades 2 has a wonderful system with a lot of great mechanics. Except for Eris, we all hate Eris. Thanks for watching. If you want to see me play more Hades 2 or see me implement these own combat mechanics in my own game, then come check out my live streams sometimes. I'm sure you won't be disappointed. And with that, I bid thee adieu.